where it started. Hello, this is Paul.
This is Laura.
And I'm Alton.
We are Team Derringer.
And you are listening to Derringer Discoveries.
Today's episode is Tina Boonstra, Perpetual Beginner.
Can we pick it back up where we left it? Right before we got the mess.
Tina is with us live from the United Kingdom. Hello, Tina, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
We're glad you're here. Listeners, in today's episode, we intend to accomplish three things. The very first one, to have a lovely chat with Tina Boonstra and introduce you to her music, if you are not already familiar with it. The second item, we want to celebrate Tina's fantastic new album called Circle Back, Start Again.
Trying to keep my head like I do, like I want to, but I'm splitting at the seams, and I need you, help me, what is it?
And lastly, we will count down our top 5 favorite songs by Tina Boonstra.
We will do this in the next 25 minutes.
You are listening to Derringer Discoveries.
With listeners in more than 30 countries.
Tina, tell us about your life growing up and how that influenced your music.
Yeah, sure. I moved around a lot as a kid, and my parents were missionaries. It's quite a big family. I had 3 older sisters and a little brother. We lived in the UK first, in the Netherlands, and in South Africa, and then went back to the UK. And when you're a kid, you just think that's normal, right? So I thought everybody changed schools every year and, moved countries every few years. Great family. We're pretty close. And I think when you move around a lot, you become quite close as a family, or we did definitely. And my sisters and I, we used to play music, and that's my growing up years. It was a bit maybe insular in some ways, always kind of moving around a lot and not really feeling fully part of something, but also lots of good things about it too.
Tina, funny that you mentioned your sister. When I was doing a little bit of research on you, I heard that you wrote your very first song when you were young and that you wanted your sister to play it on guitar. Is that right?
Yes.
I guess with less than desirable results, right?
It didn't work out so well. I was not really happy with her progress of accompanying me with my perfect melody that I had just discovered. And that was actually the reason why I started playing guitar was I don't really know why. I just wrote this song in my head, and then I got so frustrated that she couldn't play it on guitar that it was enough to kind of help me just pick it up for myself and start playing guitar so I could write more songs.
Tina, how old were you and how old was your sister when that took place, when you were trying to play a song with her?
I think I must have been about 11 and she must have been about 15, 16 kind of age. Yeah.
And that's what prompted you to learn to play guitar, because you figured you needed to do it if you wanted to accompany yourself?
Yeah, I wanted to write more songs. So I figured that's the only way that you could do that. And my mum played guitar pretty badly, but she can strum along. That's me. She's pretty good at strumming along. And two of my sisters played guitar. So there was always kind of a guitar around, but I'd never really been that interested in picking it up until then. And then that was the thing that sparked my desire to play.
Jij luistert naar Derringer Discoveries, een muziekavonturenpodcast.
With listeners in more than 30 countries.
So we'd love to know when you decide to start actually releasing your songs and how you feel about digital streaming platforms like Spotify.
I released my first EP kind of straight after uni. A friend of mine had a brother who was a producer and he wanted to record me, and that was the first thing I released. And then after that I didn't really release anything for a while. It wasn't really until I got a chance to work with this producer called Trevor Michael with this EP called My Concrete Heart Will Beat Again, and I think that whole process really helped me to find the sound that I wanted to make and be more confident in my own voice and the arrangements that I wanted to use. And I think that for me was a real, just an amazing revelation and an opportunity. And, it was so much fun, and it was a dream come true to work with him.
Tuttlingen, Deutschland, hört Derringer Discoveries.
If I could find a way to fall down, I would fall down at your feet.
Mostly people listen to my music on Spotify, so I'm really grateful. It's a strange thing, Spotify and digital streaming services, because on one hand, you don't get that like physical CD, but with Spotify, people from all over the world have listened to my music, and it's been, as an independent artist, that would never have happened without Spotify. And so it kind of blows my mind that even I'm talking to you guys.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing, Tina. You can reach out to us in America. Your new song that you just released yesterday, we're already listening to it. I mean, if you had to put this on a CD, we might never have heard it, but we get to hear it we get to hear it as soon as you decide to release it.
I know, it's amazing. And it's such a privilege to be able to do that and to live in a world where anybody can make something and then share it with the world instantly. It's incredible. And that brings its own challenges.
I still like a good record store, though, but I really appreciate all the digital platforms.
皆さん、音楽冒険ポッドキャストのデリンジャーディスカバリーズを
Tina, we are counting down our top 5 favorite songs by you. 4 of our top 5 are from your new album, Circle Back, Start Again. Thus, we and our listeners will be learning about your new album while we talk. When we identify a song by you, we will play snippets of that song, and then we'll have you tell us about the song. Tina, we would love to hear something unique about each song that we mentioned during our top 5.
She knows all my secrets. She knows my mother's name.
Derringer Discoveries pick number 5.
Derringer Discoveries pick number 5 by Tina Boonstra was originally released in July 2020. Then it was included in September 2020 on the EP titled City of Doubt. Written by Tina and produced by Alex Iden, Barnabas Shaw, and Trevor Michael, Derringer Discoveries pick number 5 is Talk It Over.
Come talk it over. Oh, please talk it over. Talk it over with me.
Talk It Over. Oh, I'm so glad that you picked this one. I love this song and I love playing it live. It's the most fun. It's a song about friendship, and I wrote it about my old housemate Lizzie, and it was at a time when lots of things were changing for us, and it kind of surprised me. I didn't sit down and think, today I will write a song about my best friend Lizzie. It just kind of happened, and then I remember like I had this verse and I was like, what is this even about? Like, she calls me to the table when I'm picking up the crumbs.
She calls me to the table when I'm picking up the crumbs.
Like, what is this about? And then I started, just out of nowhere, this chorus came, and I was like, oh, this is kind of different. This is like a bit more upbeat than the other stuff that I've written for a while. And I was like, can I write this? And then the more I sang it, the more I just loved it. And I remember it was a summer. I was by myself for about a month, and I was working on this EP kind of every evening and at the weekends. And for the first time, really like laying down my own demos and trying to push myself to learn a bit more about production. And I just had the most fun with that. And even the bit when it was like, if I've got all my friends with me.
If I've got all my friends with me.
And it was really quite sad because I recorded like the demo, not in the real version. I was literally like on my own singing it like all around the house trying to capture it. But yeah, that's a song about friendship.
Yeah, we love it when you break out into singing, so feel free to do it as much as you'd like, because that lets our listeners know that you really can deliver the goods. You are a true singer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a treat for us, too.
Thanks.
Come talk it over. Oh, please talk it over. Come talk it over with me.
Listeners at Derringer Discoveries pick number 5, that's Talk It Over by Tina Boonstra.
Jy luister na Derringer Discoveries, 'n musiekavontuur podcast.
Derringer Discoveries pick number 4.
Have I told you about Martha?
Derringer Discoveries pick number 4 by Tina Boonstra was originally released in July of 2022, and it's now included on Tina's new album, Circle Back, Start Again, released in April of this year, 2023.
Taking in birds and the flowers.
The song was written by Tina Boonstra and produced by Trevor Michael of 7 Core Music. Derringer Discovery's pick number 4 is Martha.
Keep your head up, keep your head up, girl. This is a mad, mad world. You think you've seen it all, but let me tell you, you'll see nothing. So don't go hiding what's inside you, it was made for something.
So, Tina, the third verse of this song is like a gut punch.
Yeah.
Lyrics are tragic
Sorry.
and really heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
So is this based on a true story? Tell us a little bit about it. I'm
Yeah.
terribly curious.
I really struggled with this song because it started out when I saw this lady at the top of my street and she was sitting on a bench. She was an older woman, and I don't know, something about her struck me. I think it was her contentment and her pure joy at just sitting with her eyes closed and the sun shining in her face. And it was a bit embarrassing because I literally just like stared at her for a little while, and I thought about going over to talk to her, but I thought that would be weird. So instead, I just stared at her, which, definitely not any less weird.
That's not creepy at all.
No. And she kind of stuck in my mind for a while. And I started writing this song about her. And, when you start imagining someone's life and thinking what it could be, and then I kind of felt like Martha took on like a person in my mind. And I've struggled with writing because even the beginning of it, I didn't really know how to approach it. It was like a really upbeat song, keep your head up, girl. I loved it.
Keep your head up, keep your head up, girl.
I loved that bit. And I was like, oh, maybe this is like just a cool upbeat song. And then I just felt like Martha was like, I have a bit more to say. And I struggled with that because I didn't think it would fit into the song. And as I started writing, and then that whole story came out about her sister and the idea of like the abuse that her sister faced. And I was like, yeah, it was just heart-wrenching. And I didn't know how to approach it, even though I kind of felt like that's where this song was going. And then one day I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to write where I think it's going to go. I think I might have been here, and I was playing it, and then suddenly like I sort of knew what the story was going to be, but I didn't know how to say it. And then I wrote it just all in one go. It came out. I watched her cry through the keyhole. And I was just like sobbing. It was just, really, really strange experience. And it's not based on a true story that I've experienced, but I know that it is truth for some people. And I think for me, the song just took on a whole new meaning about how all of us, we carry stuff that people don't know about. And sometimes it's really heavy and that's hard. But then also like the weird thing about that is that sometimes even like the heavy stuff also has sweetness in it and like good things. And not to say that it balances it out or that anybody should go through something and then be able to put a positive spin on something awful. But the thing about Martha and her sister is that they had a relationship that no one ever could replace. And I don't know, like I kind of see it as a watermelon now. It's like it's heavy and it's sweet. Like I love singing it, and sometimes I'm a bit worried about, I never want to just shock people in songs, but I think with that one, when I played it to some of my friends, they were just like, well, that's the story. Like, so that's how it came to be.
Your ability to tell a story in your songs is incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a mad, mad world. You think you've seen it all, but let me tell you, you'll see nothing. You think you've seen it all, but let me tell you, you'll see nothing. Keep your head up, keep your head up, girl. This is a mad, mad world. You think you've seen it all, but let me tell you, you'll see nothing. So don't go hiding what's inside you, it was made for something. Keep your head up, keep your head up, girl.
Well, listeners, that was Derringer Discovery's pick number 4 by today's featured guest, Tina Boonstra. Her song is called Martha.
Derringer Discovery's pick number 3.
Derringer Discovery's pick number 3 by Tina Boonstra was released in April 2023. It's on the album Circle Back, Start Again. The song is written by Tina Boonstra and produced by Trevor Michael, and that's someone that Tina has been mentioning, and as we're going to see, Trevor Michael's name is showing up quite a bit in this interview. Derringer Discovery's pick number 3 is Can People Ever Really Change?
Can people ever really change? I think about it every day. If I tell you that I'm trying, isn't that the same? If I tell you that I'm trying, isn't that the same?
Can people ever really change? Oh, I'm so glad you chose this song. I actually wrote 3 versions of this story. It's another one that I struggled to write because it's about somebody dealing with like their own mistakes and trying to own up to something that they know that was wrong. I think what was quite funny about this one is I started working on this version of the song and then suddenly had this like fear that my husband would hear me write this song and be like, "Hey Tina, what's going on?"
Something you're not telling me?
Yeah. So for a while, I didn't do this on purpose, but I realized I wasn't singing it when he was in the house, or like, and then I was like, Hugh, like, I just need to tell you, I'm working on this song. It's about someone who's cheated on somebody else, but it's not about me.
Not autobiographical.
Right. No.
Tina, what about the larger question at hand?
Yeah.
Can people ever really change? Do you actually draw a conclusion on that?
I think about it every day. I think the more interesting question, I think, is if I tell you that I'm trying, isn't that the same? If you're trying, isn't that the same as changing? And I think this is part 1 of a song, and the second part of the song is grace, and it's like it's okay, like we're all trying to change, and maybe yes, like I want to say yes, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it's like, well, this is who I am, and like you can't change the past, like the stuff that you've done that you know that you shouldn't have.
We won't talk about that.
If I tell you that I'm trying, isn't that the same?
Derringer Discovery's pick number 2.
Derringer Discovery's pick number 2 by Tina Boonstra was released in April of this year on Circle Back, Start Again, written by Tina and produced by Trevor Michael. Derringer Discovery's pick number 2 is Proof of Life. Tina, I have to confess, this was my pick that I sort of insisted make it to the top 5. And
yeah, Tina, Laura wrote me yesterday and insisted that we put this as one of the top 5. And when Laura speaks, we listen.
You got to listen.
That's right.
I think she finished it with or else.
Or else, yes. Or else.
That's funny. So a lot of times when I'm listening, I always have a theory or some idea of what the song might be about. You got me stumped on this one.
Oh, really?
So I'm dying to hear about this song.
Oh, interesting. I wrote this song as a kind of pep talk to myself. Definitely the chorus is one that I wrote it during one of the COVID lockdowns. And it was just really hard, wasn't it? Like, it was just so tough and so lonely. And there was so much uncertainty about basically everything. And I don't know exactly when or why, but I just had this idea that sometimes when you're going through something hard, it can feel like that is the only thing and there's no life beyond this specific time. But there's almost always a time when you look back and you're like, I thought that situation would never change, and now here we are and it has changed. And sometimes I just needed to tell myself, like, there'd be days after these days and there'd be years after this crappy year where all our plans got cancelled, but that doesn't mean that there won't be another chance to do stuff. And I used to just literally sing it to myself. In fact, I feel like this is the only song that I reference myself. There's a lyric that says, "Come on, T, just hold on to hope."
Come on, T,
and it's like me basically talking to myself. So that's what that song is about. And it's this idea that when you're in the middle of something really hard, it can feel like that's the only thing, and that's what life is forever. But often there is life after that moment, and there are days after that moment, and sometimes I just needed to hear that.
Listeners, that's Proof of Life by today's featured guest, Tina Boonstra.
You are listening to Derringer Discoveries.
Derringer Discoveries pick number 1.
Derringer Discoveries pick number 1 by Tina Boonstra was originally released in February of this year and now is included on her new album, Circle Back, Start Again. She's going to break our hearts with the lyrics of this one, too, guys.
Right out of the gate, Alton. That's the thing that blows my mind. As soon as she starts singing, I'm like, whoa, those are hard-hitting lyrics.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Can we pick it back up where we left it? Right before we got the message to come back to the world. 'Cause the doctors wanna talk.
So this song was also a top 25 hit, peaking at number 4 on the Turn Up Music Radio chart during April and May of this year. The song was written by Tina Boonstra and Barnabas Shaw and produced by Trevor Michael. Derringer Discoveries pick number 1 is If I Could. So Tina, you broke our hearts with the lyrics right out of the gate on this one. Tell us some more about the song.
Oh, I still cry when I sing this song. If I Could is a story about my friends who lost their baby. And it was quite late on. I know that doesn't make it any harder or easier, but I think that she was about 6 months pregnant when they lost their baby. And I didn't know what to say or what to do, because there's nothing you can say and there's nothing you can do to fix that. And I remember just shortly after that happened, Barnabas and I had a session booked in, and I went to his little studio. And I sat down at his piano, and it just happened. Like the song just came out, pretty much all of it in half an hour. I don't feel like there's a big message there. It's just telling that story of loss, and maybe that's okay. Like maybe sometimes we just need to make space for that loss. And yeah, that's what If I Could is about.
Listeners, that was Derringer Discoveries pick number 1, If I Could, by today's special guest, Tina Boonstra.
You are listening to Derringer Discoveries, a music adventure podcast.
Tina, do you have any shout outs to friends, family, or fans that you would like to give?
Yeah, really grateful for everybody who's streamed and purchased and shared Circle Back, Start Again. It's been so fun to release an album, and really appreciate all the support that I've had. Yeah, I just love hearing messages from people when they've said things like, oh, this song really sums up how I feel. For me, that just makes it. And then, yeah, it couldn't have happened without Trevor Michael, my producer, and my band, Alex and Barnabas and Charlie and Nathan. So, yeah, it's such a team effort making an album. So it's weird that's just my name on the front cover, but it's all of us doing it together, and it's such a privilege.
Tina, what's coming up next for you?
I am working on an EP of kind of alternative versions of tracks from the album. Hopefully a few collaborations in there, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, really, really have enjoyed working on that, getting involved in the production side of it, and just reimagining what some of these songs could sound like in a different way. So that hopefully will come out in September. And I'm also working on a podcast actually, which takes this kind of theme of the album Circle Back, Start Again, there's lots of different stories in there about different people. So I wanted to interview more people and see what else I could learn from other people's stories. So I'm recording that at the moment. Hopefully sometime over the summer, we'll be sharing some episodes of people going through some really unexpected circumstances, things that they didn't expect they would go through in their life and how they dealt with that. So very excited about that and learning a lot about what it means to interview someone on a podcast. I am not a pro like you guys, that's for sure.
I wouldn't call us pros. Have you picked the name for the podcast yet?
It's going to be called Circle Back.
All right. Well, we'll be listening for your podcast, Tina.
Yeah,
and
I can't
think
wait
you'll
for
have
that.
Thanks.
you'll have at least 3 new fans on
Absolutely.
the podcast.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you.
Listeners, we want to thank Tina Boonstra of the United Kingdom for joining Team Derringer today. This has been Derringer Discoveries, a music adventure podcast. For the songs by Tina Boonstra featured in this episode, all copyrights Tina Boonstra.
Listeners, you can follow us on social media. We are at Derringer Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and we are at Derringer Discoveries on Facebook. Tina is also on social media. You can find her at Tina Boonstra on all the major platforms and also on her website, tinaboonstra.com. That's TINABOONSTRA.com. Listeners, thanks so much for listening to this episode. Please follow us on your podcast app and tell others about our podcast. You've been listening to Derringer Discoveries, a music adventure podcast.
In your sister's room. That's where it started. In your sister's room.
Tina Boonstra, recording and touring artist from the United Kingdom, listens to Derringer Discoveries.
How long did it take you before you were proficient or comfortable enough to play that guitar and accompany yourself with your music in front of a live crowd?
I mean, I thought a day.
I believe it.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is such a privilege. I can't believe it let me talk about my own songs. I'm buzzing.
We can't wait.
Yeah.
Listeners, Tina mentioned her song Grace, and what we'll do is fly in a snippet of it right here so that you can hear the song that she was referencing sort of as a part 2 of Can People Ever Really Change?
I haven't released it.
Oh, all right, Alton, you'll have to edit that out. Sorry, I assumed you had released it.
We were just wishing.
I was kind of winging it, Tina. I was assuming that it was out there.
Nice try, Paul.